You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey, Days of Our Lives fans, it sure feels like we are about to get a brand new version of Stefano DiMera. Not sure if this would be I'm trying to think of the count. Is this going to be Stefano version 3.0 or 4.0? But since Joseph Mascolo is gone, that means it is going to be a new Stefano no matter what, if they bring the character back. It's Belinda from Soap Dirt, and my wheels have been turning with all this recent talk about the Queen of the Night dreams that are plaguing Marlena, and we're going to talk about the Phoenix Rising again and who it may be, but please subscribe if you're not following us. Let's get into it. So I really don't think the writers or showrunners would ever do a true recast to replace the late Joseph Mascolo in the role of Stefano. So not a full recast as a permanent character. However, if you remember several years ago, they gave us Stefano as a new version of the Phoenix. If you recall, they implanted Steve Johnson with a microchip. It contained Stefano's essence and personality, and he even got a fancy new robotic eye that was spying on stuff, and he got to ditch the patch for a while. I'm sure Stephen Nichols appreciated not having to film with that on his face while the Stefano plot lasted. So right now, we've got Marlena's disturbing dreams. That's one red flag that a new Stefano could be coming. Another red flag is the Arabian Knights book that's lying around, which was used in Mind Control by Stefano before. Plus, in some upcoming scenes with EJ and with Susan, there's a whole lot of focus on Stefano's portrait at the mansion. So spoilers for this week also have Rafe telling Kat there's a reason Stefano was called the Phoenix. And Rafe unpacks some things like the fact that Stefano died years ago and then was thought to not be dead. And then that inspired Dr. Rolf, the mad scientist, to try and reboot his beloved boss Stefano using his innovative but dodgy medical expertise. And Dr. Rolf actually succeeded for a moment in time when he used Steve Johnson as a guinea pig to be the new Stefano. But when Steve's microchip was destroyed, it also took Stefano's personality out of him, and he was back to being Patch. However, I think it's safe to say Dr. Rolf has probably been busy working on a new and improved way to bring Stefano back to life in one form or another. If you remember, gosh, it was a few years ago, Rolf tried to put a Stefano clone embryo into Kayla's womb for her to carry as a surrogate, which was craziness. And recently, we've had lots of mentions of Stefano's son, Stefan DiMera. Of course, the sole surviving twin fathered by Stefano with Vivian Alamain as the mom. Gabby thought her ex-husband Stefan skipped town and divorced her and is off living his best life in Alamania. But Gwen von Leuschner said she never saw Stefan at all during her stay with the von Leuschners, who also live in Alamania with Vivian Alamain's family. Lots of scheming, rotten people there. And Tony insists that Stefan sent a get well card to EJ after his shooting. But first of all, that was months ago. And second of all, that could have come from literally anybody who just signed the name. No one has heard from Stefan DiMera since Vivian's henchman, Yvonne, stuffed Stefan into the trunk of a car and drove him away. The assumption was Vivian spirited her son off to Alamania, but maybe Stefan is in a secret lab somewhere being turned into his father. But Stefan isn't the only option as a possible new Stefano, because don't forget, Gwen's missing husband, Dimitri von Leuschner, is Stefano's grandson. And we know Gwen couldn't care less where her two-timing husband Dimitri went after he was released from jail. But Kristen thought it was strange that Dimitri didn't pop up at least long enough to divorce Gwen. And Leo mentioned he thought Dimitri had moved to New York after falling for some jailhouse hottie he met behind bars. But again, no one's heard from Gwen's husband, least of all her. So Dimitri could be plotting with his mom, Megan Hathaway, to restore the Phoenix, or maybe she decided to not ask permission and just snatch Dimitri once he was paroled and she decided to make him into the new Stefano. The problem with Dimitri being the new version of Stefano is the Phoenix was always obsessed with Marlena, wanted her as his queen of the night back in the day, and now that plot is rekindling, yet we know Dimitri is only into dudes. So not quite a fit, and we don't know if the actor is willing to come back. I did like him. He was hot. We'll see. Then there are some Days of Our Lives fans who strongly believe that Tony isn't really Tony, and he is instead the very wicked Andre DiMera, and they think that a switch happened now, and it has happened in the past, to be fair. And yeah, we know Abby Devereaux killed Andre, but death is not an obstacle on Days of Our Lives. Never has been, probably never will be. So another big red flag, is that Tony never wanted to run their dirty family business, but now, all of a sudden, he wants to reclaim Stefano's legacy corporation from Philip and Xander Kiriakis with Gabby's help, and even wilder, Tony wants Gabby in charge. So even if that really is Andre, somehow, he could still be revived and reinvented as Stefano 3.0, the next Phoenix. It would be a weird age gap thing if it was, say, Stefan or Dimitri, because they'd be out trying to seduce beautiful Marlena. But if it was Andre or Tony that was the new Stefano seducing the beautiful Marlena, that would be a less weird age gap. Finally, the Days of Our Lives rumor mill suggests that Kristen's brother, Peter Blake, is back in Salem sometime this fall. We haven't seen Kristen's sibling in Salem since early 1998. Peter disappeared after being released from Statesville Prison, kind of like Dimitri did when he was released from prison. But every so often, when the DiMera board needs his shareholder vote, Peter phones in to voice his opinion, but he doesn't show up. So, could he be returning to Salem as Stefano? Maybe. We know Peter wanted to turn a new leaf over back in the 90s, but he could have changed his mind since then. And since his mom, Rachel Blake, has been back on the scene recently, that could have been a sign that Peter's coming back for one reason or another. I don't think Rachel Blake would be very happy if Peter had somehow been made over into Stefano, since she was not a fan of the Phoenix for very obvious reasons. So if Stefano's back, if the Phoenix has risen from the ashes, as many signs point to, I also wonder if he had a role in EJ's shooting. For instance, new Stefano might be disappointed that EJ's not out burning down the world and has mostly, but not entirely, gone sort of legit. So we'll find out more soon.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.